Oh wait, before we start.
Oh, it's already starting. Okay.
Fuck. Okay. Well, this can be a little prelude.
Okay.
Chris,
Yeah.
just so you know, I think you listen to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
I have this very terrible thing, and I already told Neil about this, and he already knows. I talk too much. Okay. So
Nah, don't worry about it, dude.
tell me to shut up every once in a while, because sometimes I have this I have ADHD. I do not allow people to get a fucking word, and I hate that. So just
That's
tell
right,
me to
man.
shut up. I
It's
don't
all
take
good,
things
dude.
in a bad way ever. Just tell me to shut the fuck up every once in a while.
It's all good, bro. Autism gang.
Hell yeah.
All right. Hey
Yeah,
guys.
brother.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
What?
Oh, okay. I'll just start the intro. Hey guys, Neil here. Neil's podcast. We got Jay and Styks here. And we're talking about metaphysics, shit that matters. And the introduction. Okay. What is metaphysics, according to you guys? Let's start off
Fuck
with
if
that.
I know.
Fuck if I know, brother. Come on. Come on. What do you think it is?
It's fucking everything and nothing at the same time, bro.
Oh, bruh. Post irony. Post irony.
I mean,
We're going metaverse in here.
what about you, Neil? What do you think metaphysics is? Is it nothing or everything?
Oh man, that's so hard, man. It's like the chicken and the egg. It's like chicken and the
Well,
egg.
the egg came first, my bro.
But how do we know?
Who made the egg, though?
It's fucking
Well,
paradox.
it definitely
first.
wasn't a chicken.
God came first.
Well, of course, he fucking splurged everything out.
Oh, that is, funny you should mention that, because in ancient Egyptian mythology, they did have a god where he just started wanking and then fucking the whole universe was created. Or there was another one where he vomited and
That was
then
me,
the
my bad.
universe created.
And he just like had a little upset stomach, and then he just needed to jerk one out, and then fuck, the universe came to be.
But yeah, for me, it's like it's the physics of beyond the normal, like the physical, you know,
Uh,
the abstract.
Yeah, in a way. So it's kind of like what I think it is, or like what I observe it to be as well. It's kind of like a school of thought that deals with the very essential pillars and
Yeah.
principles of things beyond the
The physical,
concrete.
yeah, beyond the concrete,
Beyond
basically.
what is
Yeah,
concrete.
yeah,
Yeah, shit like time and whatnot, space.
Time,
yeah,
and then more abstract concepts like the identity of something,
yeah.
like
Change.
necessity. Necessity is a very abstract concept. Space, stuff like that. You know, it's very interesting
Yeah.
to talk about.
Yeah. Do you think metaphysics is important? Yes or no? And why?
Can be, but you know, it's just something interesting to occupy the mind. You know, just something for you to, you know,
Think about.
Think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, it depends on what you define as important, right?
Oh yeah, true.
Like,
yeah.
is important? Do you mean like it's necessary? Right?
Yeah.
Because then, if we start talking about that, then you start talking about metaphysics in itself. What
Yeah.
is necessity? What is necessary? Is it necessary? Now, on in layman's terms, I don't think it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
I
For
don't.
the most most people.
But
yeah.
I do think it's there's
Yeah.
art in metaphysics and in physics too. I think there's art in everything really.
Yeah.
But there can be, there isn't, but there can be, and in a way, like kind of like what. Wait, can I use your real name or should I call you Styks?
No, just call me Styks.
All right, like what Styks was saying is that like it's cool to like think about, right?
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
to me that goes deeper into like it adds richness to life, in my opinion, which is like to me as a person, as a human who's gonna die someday,
Yeah.
the least I can do is try to enrich my life as most as I can.
True.
And I
Yeah.
feel like metaphysics is a good way to at least add some flavor to life, by thinking about things that
Beyond.
maybe you're not supposed to,
Yeah.
because it's beyond the things that are quote unquote necessary in your
Yeah.
own mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you can just think about anything. just give it a go. You don't have to, but it's just nice to think about stuff.
Yeah, it enriches you a little bit, makes things more interesting.
Yeah.
It's one thing to look at the night sky and be like, "Those are some cool stars," and another to like think about
Think
it.
about why are the stars?
Yeah, it adds a little bit of richness to your everyday life.
Yeah.
You just look at your hand, you like move it a little bit. You're like, oh yeah, that's cool. But you could also be like, why does it move? Like, why?
Exactly.
Why can I move it that way? Why does it respond?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Reacting.
And I feel like in a way, that's when that part of that conclusion is when you start talking about like science and religion.
Yeah.
In a way, right? Which is
Yeah.
the next point.
Yeah, the next point.
Which-
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you guys talk first because I think like most of my point in this entire podcast is gonna deal with this one.
Oh, really?
But,
Shit. Okay.
But in general, I think that in like science and religion, I'm not gonna get too into it yet, but
Yeah,
that's
it's fine.
what they do in a way. They allow
Yeah.
you to enrich your life in a seemingly meaningless way.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still adding things to a blank slate.
Yeah.
But I'll let you guys.
Yeah.
Do you want to go
Alright.
first?
Yeah.
Sticks,
Are you guys
or-
religious?
No,
I'm not
anymore.
I'm not religious. I'm just spiritual.
Spiritual. All right.
Yeah.
I am very religious.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a God-fearing man.
No worries.
Catholic, so a lot of people don't like me, but yeah.
That's all right.
Don't worry, we both went to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's fine.
Just born and raised Catholic, raised Catholic. Oh.
Do you want to start, Sticks, on your personal journey with faith, spirituality, or philosophies? Or should I start?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Fuck, I remember waking up not knowing shit, but having to go to school. Because it was a Catholic school, we had to learn about religion and God, Jesus, learning through all that. And you know what? For the first few years, I did go along with it. I remember going to the church and eating the body of Christ, yada yada. And I remember I did pray a lot, mostly for inane shit like, ooh, I hope, like, God, can you please get me a new computer by Sunday or something? Just shit like that. Or just like, I hope this person feels better, blah blah blah. And you know what? It's funny because some of those things did actually happen, and I'm pretty sure it was just my dad on the other side of the door listening. but for some reason, despite me not knowing that, and some of the things I prayed for happened,
Yeah.
I just sort of didn't really buy it. It didn't sink in, and I sort of, after I hit 4th grade, I just stopped believing. You know?
Yeah.
And after that, it's just slowly fading into more of a atheist sort of standpoint. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about religion after like going through that? Like after like you had your experience, thought about it, saw things differently. How do you feel about religion? Like about especially like
honestly-
Catholicism in this case.
Yeah.
Honestly, my thought on just religion in general is that without it, to make sense of the, impossible to understand, humans wouldn't function properly. We'd just sort of break down at the unknown. We'd be scared all the time. And with religion, you're sort of able to put up a little barrier to protect yourself. It's just something to hold on to make you feel not so alone. And I feel like throughout time, it's just, over the years, it's just grown bigger and bigger. And this also leads into science.
Yeah.
It's more making sense of the unknown and, making things understandable. So you can sort of, it goes at odds with religion in a way.
Yeah.
You can't really have both without, shitting on the other.
This actually okay. I'm not gonna get into it yet. No. But
No,
there's
it's all right.
I want us to keep that point in mind because I have some like really interesting thoughts about that, about like the coexistence of both
Yeah.
and stuff. Because it's a very interesting topic. But so like, would you say like, are you also kind of skeptical when it comes to like sciencey stuff, or do you just kind of like try to intake that in a more like, of course, checking your facts and everything, but like, do you like believe that science is more accurate, or do you also believe that science is also like on some different shit?
Science is kind of we're at a point where everything could be entirely wrong and we'd have to start from ground zero all over again.
That's true.
Or we are on the right path but we're missing something.
Yeah.
It can be correct. It just, you don't know why it's correct, sort of deal.
Yeah.
Hell, there could be, gravity could not even exist. It could be something entirely else, and we just don't know.
That's true. That's very true.
It's just, we gotta spend some time to really learn and figure it out.
Yeah.
It could all be correct, could all be wrong, we just don't know.
Yeah.
But like see, when I like see that like whole like argument about like the exactitude of science versus the exactitude of religion, right? And how they both approach almost the same problem, right? It's an interesting thing to me because what you said is true, right? At least in most people's eyes, right? Which is that science is, it's more provable, it's more academic, right? But at the end of the day, it could be wrong, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But it's like okay, so you guys read the story, right?
Yeah. The short story. Yeah.
What do you guys think about that one? What do you guys think about that?
It was interesting. It felt like throughout time, despite having perfected something, the newer generations just sort of laughed at it, thought it was useless, and just discarded it.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it.
What about you, Neil? What did you think about the story?
I feel it's like something like it's like a never-ending thing. It's infinity, basically. It's like a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so expensive. Yeah.
Those are actually really interesting takes on the story.
Yeah.
But like the point that I actually like okay, so here's where I go in my diatribe. So please tell me to shut the fuck up.
Okay, no worries.
Go for it, dude.
Go for it.
So, on the exactitude of science, just a summary for those who are listening who have not read it. Story about, some cartographers or society of cartographers. They make a map pretty big. They're like, oh, this is a pretty good map. We can make it bigger, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, they make it bigger until make a 1-to-1 map of the empire, right? And then they make it, right? They think, cool, we made a 1-to-1 map of the empire. Then later on in the future, some future generations look at this map, realize how they think it's useless, and they throw it away. It becomes like a shelter for like animals and homeless people and blah blah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what the core problem of the story is it's not really found in the either the infinity thing or the future generation thing, although that is important as well to understand because the story has multiple facets to it.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But the main facet that I want to focus on, and the main like kind of like through line of the story, is the map itself, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
How when you make a 1-to-1 map of the empire, you essentially just made the empire again. So it makes the map pointless. It makes the map unable to communicate a map, and it just communicates the empire. And that's where a concept that is very important, I that a lot of people don't think about when they talk about science, religion, stuff like that, is maps. Maps are very important. And the creation of a map is something that is, to me, fundamental to understanding, in my opinion, religion and science, and the why of them, and in my opinion, how they approximate the answer to one problem. So in my opinion, like for example, right? Okay, so the point of the story is that when you communicate something, you necessarily have to remove parts of it. You need to make it inaccurate almost in a way in order to properly communicate something from A to B, right?
Yeah.
You need to change it. It needs to be different.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I talk to you guys, right?
Yeah.
There's like a thought in my head, right? Then that creates a map to me. I communicate, right? By communicating it, I create a map of my idea. Then you guys see that map and you guys map it to your own brain, right?
Yeah,
and that's how you understand things, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the creation of the mapping that idea is very important, because if there was no map, right? Let's say the way I told you my idea is the idea just popped in your head as I thought it, right?
Yeah, basically what I'm doing.
That would essentially mean that we're a hive mind, right?
Oh, yeah,
because it would mean that any thought that I have, you are having at the same time, and any thought you have, I'm having at the same time, because that's how we're communicating, by simply having the same thoughts at the same time. We become a hive mind, right? Which, in our own eyes,
spooky. You lose your individuality.
Exactly. But that's why I think that something also very important is linguistics. Language is fundamental to everything, right? Language is the guiding point to intelligence, right? To me, and I think I told Neil this, right? I keep calling you Niall. Fuck Neil.
Now Red.
It was that we have artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
But to me, that's a misnomer, right? To me, what we have is simply high efficiency, high speed computation, right? You're simply just giving a computer a bunch of shit, and it knows how to sort through it really fast and come up with something.
It's like a calculator, basically.
To me, there are three steps to it, right? There's high speed computation, right? Then you have, so you have the high speed computation. Then you have artificial consciousness, and then you have artificial intelligence. To me, artificial consciousness comes first, because artificial consciousness to me just comes in when the computer is aware that it's a computer. But to me, intelligence comes when you properly teach a computer language, right? That's where artificial intelligence comes in. When the computer is not just translating, right, efficiently, right, but when the computer actually can properly speak a language. When the computer knows how to compute language, that's when the computer becomes intelligent.
Just look at AI Dungeon or something. That's fucking terrible. It has no idea what the fuck it's saying. It can't tell a story to save its life.
But once something like AI Dungeon learns language, right, and it can talk like either of us can, even though language is a little bit more complex than just talking, right? That's when that became intelligent. It's not even when it knows that it's a computer, because it's being aware of itself, which is a very big step, though we are not even close to getting, right?
But most people just tell the computer to say that it's aware.
Exactly. But the computer doesn't know that, and the computer can't communicate, right? But once you start thinking about language, that's when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of things. To me, so the reason I'm religious, right?
Okay,
just because this kind of bleeds into it, is, well, I grew up Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic. Colombian, so of course I'm fucking Catholic. And I was always super religious. Like, I would always give people lessons in religion and everything, and I was super deep into it because I was raised to be that way. Then my family, I not to get too deep into it on the podcast, I can tell you guys off recording if anything, but I went through, and I'm still going through a really rough time since I was 2, right, or 1, in many ways in my life. And that sometime through halfway through middle school, start of high school, I started being okay. I wasn't I was blaming God and being God, you didn't do anything, so you're not real. It was more that I thought maybe it's just maybe it kind of made me focus on other things other than faith, and that allowed me to think about other possibilities. Right. And to this day, and then some things happened in my life, and in a way, quote unquote, I found God again, right? But to me, to this day, I still think about it, and I'm the most likely scenario, if I really think about it objectively, is that he's not real, right? is that we're probably just like highly intelligent animals, right? That are gonna die, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
That there's no after. And when I think about it, it's like, okay, that makes more sense. And honestly, that's the most likely scenario. But there are multiple reasons why I still believe. One, it enriches my life, like I was talking about, right? It makes things rich, and it's genuine. I just don't believe it to believe it. I believe it genuinely, and I feel like it enriches it. But there's also another thing, and I feel like it is the most accurate and at the same time inaccurate way to approach every answer that science wants to give. And in my opinion, science is just as religious as religion. When you really get into it, it's just as much about faith, right? And about the abstract metaphysical concepts that cannot be understood as religion, right? When you
Faith in the numbers.
when you really get into it, right? Like, for example, like, let's say like God, right? He's like a Lovecraftian being, right? You
Okay,
can't
yeah.
comprehend
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
But it's like same thing with the universe is like ever expanding, ever crunching,
Yeah.
right? And everything.
Infinite. Yeah.
And exactly, and it's made of space, right?
Yeah.
There's space in space. So when you can take a picture of like the universe because it's space. There's space, something to take a picture of, right?
Yeah.
But like, what can you take a picture of the edge of space, right? Well, technically there's space, but then what happens to the part of space that doesn't exist because it's beyond the edge, right?
There's just no
Can
more
you-
space.
But can you take a picture of something that just isn't, right? That there's a picture is a almost like a representation of space, of a space, right? If
Yeah.
there's no space, what are you taking a picture of? How would that picture turn out? The Big Bang, right? It exists in a space smaller than space, so it's smaller than the field of vision of the camera. Could you take a picture of that, right? Those are things that, just like religion, you can't really have an answer to, right?
Yeah.
There
Right.
really
Yeah.
isn't one, because it's beyond your own barrier of
Yeah.
cognition, right? Things
Yeah.
also like not only that, but like, like just nothingness is a very big thing but also when you talk about time, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing in science that directly disproves the fact that something can't exist forever, right? Like, has always existed, will always exist. There's nothing in science that specifically says that cannot happen, right?
Yeah.
But it's heavily assumed and implied that everything needs to have a beginning and an end in order to be real,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then you start thinking about other things like, okay, if matter really cannot be created or destroyed, right? Then matter had to exist at some point forever, right?
Yeah.
In order for it to be transformed into more matter or into different matter, right? By that logic.
Yeah.
So it's something that, while science doesn't disprove it, science doesn't. It really doesn't deal in that, because it assumes things that negate that. And in that way, I feel like the key difference between science and religion, as seen through the eyes of a normal person, would be that science doesn't go as far as it can, whereas religion does. But in order to go that far, you have to start, in the eyes of many, making up stories, right? Because you have to start simply thinking about things in a, which this goes into a point that's later on, but magical. It needs to become almost magical,
Yeah.
right? Because to me, rationality is actually, like, intense rationality is actually an obstacle, right? That a lot of people get stuck in. Because the only reason science, in my opinion, makes sense is because it doesn't think about itself as much as it should, because doing so would cause a lot of problems, right? Whereas with religion has also done that, right? Like, like old, like Islam and stuff like that, they believe like there was like a physical pit of fire in the desert, right? And stuff like that, which I can easily disprove by walking around the desert and being like, oh, there was no pit of fire, right? But whereas with like Catholicism, Christianity, and even modern iterations like Islam and Judaism and a lot of Abrahamic religions, it's that they decide to like walk around that point by only talking about the things that go beyond what we can tangibly interact with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It talks about God, it talks about hell and heaven and all of these things that are highly allegorical, yes, but are concepts that are like beyond us in a way, right? So it's like the only thing, in my opinion, because the entire universe in a the most metaphysical level can only be understood through thinking in layman's terms, thinking interesting things about it, right?
Mm.
Approximations.
Yeah.
That's what I think that religion is the most accurate portrayal of every answer to every question that science also tries to pose. And it's because religion looks for the answer that can go deeper by looking for an answer that isn't right. You know what I mean? It's just an answer that
Is
requires
approximate.
faith in. Exactly. It's an approximation. If I look at lightning and it comes down, right, and I don't understand why, and I'm like, okay, Zeus brought that down upon us, right? I'm approximating what could have happened, right?
Yeah.
Where science is like, okay, the electrons in the clouds, blah, 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 and then light, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an answer to it, right? And in that case, in that scenario, I think science does have a more accurate way of explaining it because it can be proved in many different layers, right? This explains this, explains that, explains that, explains that, you know, and explains a key of like a chain of necessity, right?
Yeah.
Whereas religion simply just jumps over those points and goes back to and goes to the source.
Yeah.
But because, like, again, science, in my opinion, right? This is my opinion.
Yeah.
It has a really good first point that connects to a second point. Like this leads to that, leads to that.
Yeah.
That chain of necessity.
Yeah,
is
logical
very
and
good.
procedural.
It makes sense. Exactly. It makes
hierarchical,
sense, and
of course.
it can be proved, right? It can be proved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, there always will be a point in that chain where it will lead to the source, and that source is something that science cannot approach. What religion does is it hops over every single part of that chain and jumps to the source, and it tries to explain the source by talking about it in the way it should be talked about, in the only way we can talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
That is an
through
interesting point.
approximations.
Yeah.
Right.
Never thought of
Another
it that
thing
way.
is that when you map things, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, when you map, the only way you can assimilate, like, let's say, system B, right?
Yeah.
Human being system
Yeah.
A. The only way you can approximate system B is by using an equality, right? System A equals system B, right? And then whether that's true or not, that defines what system B is, right?
Yeah.
And then system B, you have to prove that system B is not system C, right?
Mm.
Or that system C B is system C, and then system C has to be different from system D, or else everything would be the same system, right?
Exactly,
So at
yeah.
some point, something has to be different. At some point, there has to be an inequality. But when you look at all those things, you understand that God, being like, let's call him system C, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. System state God.
Like, okay, since we cannot physically understand what God would even be, right? And in the case of science, what the guiding rules of the actual metaphysical cosmos are, right?
Yeah.
Which is why only like people think about these things, but you can never experiment with that because
Yeah.
you can't,
It's
right?
beyond.
It's like all those things. You like, can you really equate B to or C, system C, to anything if you don't even know what system C is or what rules it, like what system C contains?
Yeah.
You can't really.
You can't. You can't
So
experiment.
what do? You create system B, because system B, by creating system B is going to be an approximation of system C, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
system B is going to be compared to system A. Now, when you think about God, you usually think about him in a very human way. You think about him as a human.
Yeah.
Really, if you think about it, right? Not
Pretty
only
much.
physically, not just physically, but like when you see like a massacre happening, right? You're like, why did God
Yeah.
allow that, right?
Yeah.
Why would God allow something like that? Or if you see something good happening, it's like God is good, right? And stuff like that. It's like, okay, you are defining God based on your own human perception, based on what you as a
Yeah.
human are, what system A is. So what you're doing is you're equating system A to system B and creating like a map of yourself to define system C, right? You're mapping yourself to system C because system A is the only thing that you really understand.
Yeah.
So you try to map it to system C, right? And so,
Yeah.
so to me, a lot of religion on the surface is just studying that little map. Is just studying that map. When you go deeper into it, is when you start thinking about System C by itself. No map, no anything, no human approximations, no why did God do this, why didn't God do this, but instead thinking, is doing something even a thing that God is conceptually, is that a concept to God? Doing a thing, right?
I believe God would have, from an agnostic point of view, from a friend of mine, that would have been God simply created everything so that life can do it all on its own. He created everything so people can do what they want. People can learn on their own. He's not going to interfere because this is what you guys are going to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
He made you guys the way you are so you can do it yourself. That's why there's good people, there's bad people, and there's just people. You know, you can't really generalize people just because everyone is unique and different.
Yeah.
But, you know, we all have similarities, so we can categorize it, you know? It's just...
in a way, that's like, even though I mostly agree with that, right? It's still the map, right? Because you're still ascribing things to God that you really only know because they're in System A, right?
Yeah.
For all we know, the things, concepts that God uses, mechanisms, everything, to even think about, or even if he thinks about why he created people, how he created people, and all of that, might be something that we can't even comprehend. We can't even begin to approximate that, right? The only way we can pretend we approximate it is by thinking about it as if we were God, right? If you were God, you might think, oh, I'm going to leave them to their own devices. It's their own free will, right? Or, oh, I'm going to do this and help people out or not, right? But God might be beyond your own approximation to that problem, right? God, like, you know, it's the whole God works in mysterious ways, right? Which is, again, it's a very religious thing, and I feel like that is the closest approximation to that. It's God works in mysterious ways. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people say, okay, then if by this definition that you're giving, religion's kind of bullshit because it doesn't ever answer a question, right? It just poses a little funny made-up story that is very vague, very complex, but it really doesn't answer any of my questions, right? But that's where, in my opinion, it shines. Because not in multiple ways. From a personal perspective, I like to be guided by things that I can never answer, because then I always have something to look forward to. It becomes better for me to think about those things than something that I can get the answer to, right? Because then it makes things look smaller than they could be, you know? But that's my personal thing. But on a bigger thing, there are things that we just don't have answers to, right?
Exactly,
That we cannot answer. And religion basically only really, like deep religion, when you really think about it, right? Theologically, when you really think about it, religion, that's what it mostly does. It dabbles in the things that they have no answer for, right? For example, like most modern religions, really, and in most conceptions of religion, theory of evolution, all these physical rules and the laws of physics and laws of chemistry and all this are a given, right? They are a thing. The thing is, religion is like, okay, those things are true. Listen to scientists, but there are other things that only we can think about because we approximate them in our own way, right? And that's where faith comes in. As faith, in my opinion, is the only mechanism we have to approximate ourselves to those answers, and it's by simply believing that those answers could be true, right? Because at the end of the day, not only is it incredibly arbitrary if you talk about something that you can have no information about, right? Because if you think about it, like, everything has a form and a function, right? And as people, we always identify the form before the function, really, right? Or the function before the form, right? And but in theory, right? Anything that, like, is, look, even if you look at a bottle of water, right? And the first thing you think about is, oh, it's a bottle of water. You think about the function, and then you think about the exact form of that, right? Although the function is in itself a little bit of a function of the form, in the sense, it's a weird thing, right? But like you, even if you don't know what it is, you at least see something and you identify a form, right?
Yeah.
But you identify the function first, because you first need to identify that you don't identify a function in order to identify a form, right?
Yeah.
You need to be like, I don't know what this is. Like I cannot, but I know what it looks like, and your brain does that automatically. You don't even realize that. But you think about that, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, something that doesn't have a form and doesn't have a function doesn't exist, right?
It's
Because remember,
formless.
okay, so you can think of like a made up building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Doing
in a
it.
way it exists. It exists in a way, not in a physical way, but it exists. That building exists, right?
It exists within our minds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right here, or anyone listening, it's in their minds right now.
Exactly. Now there's a made up mind somewhere, but you can see a form, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't exist physically, but it exists. But now, can you come up with a new shape that isn't
God, no.
just exactly? You can think of a shape that isn't just a bunch of shapes that you already know put together, right? You can think of like novel things. We can
But
only
you can't
think of,
think of a new color either.
exactly. You
It's
can,
beyond
the
our
human brain-
comprehension.
Exactly.
beyond our perception.
Exactly. The human brain cannot imagine new things. It can only imagine compositions of things that you already know.
Yeah.
In fact, the whole point of Lovecraftian horror is that like the monsters are
Things you
made
just can't understand. You
Exactly.
just
It's
can't
beyond-
see it.
because
it
they
just
are
break-
things that we cannot.
It breaks.
We can't identify the form or function
Yeah.
of them, even though they have it, right? So in theory, if you can think of a new shape, the shape doesn't exist, right? Because there's no form or function to it, right?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't exist. And if you think about it, you can't think of a form or function of God either, right? You can approximate it and say, oh, he looks like a bearded man, but that's just because you're mapping your own system
Yeah.
to system B in order to
To understand.
have some definition
Yeah.
of system C. Exactly. So in theory, if you think about that, God doesn't exist, right? And
Yeah.
really, he shouldn't. But that's where the faith aspect comes in, because so many things in science, if you think about it, are exactly the same. Where there's like, this shouldn't exist. Again, does the lack of space really exist if it doesn't have a form or function?
Who knows? Maybe space is just a formless new shape that we just can't comprehend.
But exactly. But what are you doing right there?
I'm just trying to I'm putting it to a system. I'm
You're
putting it on
kind
the
of
map.
doing exactly the same thing religion does, right? Which
Yeah.
is, I don't know. I can't come up with an answer. So maybe it's this, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it makes sense to me, and I
Trying to
will
map it.
believe that it is because it gives it meaning to me. I can't find out its true form, its true function, so I will at least try to acknowledge that it's a thing by necessity, right? And
Yeah.
I will give it a form and a function in order to explain it to myself, right?
Yeah.
Which is where I think science is at fault. It doesn't do that. It tries to find the answer, and it acknowledges that some things cannot be answered,
Sure, yeah.
at least yet, but it
Not yet,
never
at least.
tries to even assume a form or function to it. It just avoids the problem until it can answer it, right? Science is always looking for answers, right? Like concrete answers. And if it can't, it acknowledges that it can't, but it acknowledges that there must be a way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Religion is like, we can't find an answer, but we can come up with one that serves a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the whole point of finding an answer is for it to serve a purpose, right? So in the end, to me, finding an answer in something that is quote unquote made up is just as valuable as finding an answer in something that you can prove, right? As long as it guides something to something, and like as long as it has purpose to it,
Yeah.
right? And if you think about it, as much as I am drawing a line between science and religion, and going back to the point that Styks was making, right?
Yeah.
About religion and science not being able to coexist without in like almost fighting in a way.
Yeah.
Like
Quarreling.
contradicting each
Yeah.
other, like in a way.
Yeah.
It like, think about it like this, and my brother actually was the one who posed me this question
Yeah, what
while
did
I
he
was in
say?
the car. and it broke my fucking brain for a few minutes. And then we talked about it, and I
let's
saw
listen.
some things. And it was, if you're writing a story,
Yeah.
right? He's a big writer.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
He loves writing. And I was like,
Are you not the god of your own world?
no. He said, if you are writing that story, and one of the characters in your story starts trying to figure out the plot, is he doing science or religion, right? And that question seems simple, right?
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was so much more complex than
Yeah.
that, because
It really is.
he didn't tell me his answer until the end, and for the most part I was telling him I don't think he's doing either, right? I think he's doing theology, but not religion, because to me religion necessitates a belief, a faith, whereas theology is just thinking about the things that religion believes in. But science wants more concrete answers, blah, blah, blah. And then my brother, at the end, after really running me through circles, right? And really running me
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact words he used, or even the answer. I might butcher it, right?
Yeah. It's fine.
But
Yeah,
he said
no,
that-
go for it.
He said that, in a way, you can't really say he's doing either. You can't really divide those things. They kind of almost in a way are the same thing.
Yeah.
Because
On the
the
different
religion,
coin.
proper religion. Okay, so science studies an organized systems, right?
Yeah.
An organized like system that is coherent.
Yeah.
And in order for religion to be proper, by what I just explained, what religion tries to do, it needs to find. It believes in an organized system. It requires an organized system. Religion requires that, as I just explained. That's the entire point that religion tries to make. That it requires an organized system. So when you're doing religion, you're thinking about that organized system, figuring out that organized system, which is exactly what science tries to do, right? You're essentially doing the same thing. So in this case, that person would be doing neither and both, right? He'd be doing science and religion, but it's because you can't really say at this point if he's doing science or religion, right? Now, the point that I was trying to make was that because he was trying to basically figure out the writer's brain, right?
Yeah.
Which was something that was completely outside the realm of understanding that this person had, right? Because the realm of understanding that this person had was a simple subset of my brain that wrote the story, right? So when let's say he fully understands it, he only understands the product of a part of my mind, not even that part of my mind entirely. So when it tries to understand my brain, right, the plot, right, something that I came up with that had meaning, right, that it needs meaning, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
It tries to figure that out. It's trying to figure out something that it's beyond its realm of understanding, because it only understands the things that I put down, which is not exactly what was on my brain because of the whole mapping issue, right?
Yeah.
So so in that case, it would be doing religion. But then he told me that because of the necessity of an organization, right, which is inherent to the plot that I'm writing, because there's coherence in it, right?
Yeah.
Even if the plot makes no sense in the plot, there's coherence in it. There's a meaning behind it. There's a meaning to it. And science studies meaning, you know. This means that, this means that, this means that, you know. This particle moves like this, which means that this moves like this, which means that this moves like this, right? There's meaning in its most formal sense. Then you look at religion, which also studies meaning, right? This means this, and this means that. They just come up with different stories to tell. And science comes up with something to show for it. Religion comes also with something to show for it, which is you, right? Think about it and believe it, right? That's it. That's all I have to show for it. But so in a way, it's not showing anything, right? But does it need to? Should it show something for something that can't be shown in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? So those are all the things. So when you think about that person, is he doing philosophy or science? And you think about it and really, 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 really think about it, you don't really come up with an answer to that, but you come up with a question, right? Which is, okay, then what's the difference between science and religion, right? what really is the difference there. And then
You sort of stumble upon the event horizon where they both sort of intersect and meet.
Yeah.
exactly. And
In
what is
trying
that
to make
horizon?
sense of it.
It's not an answer, which most people expect the point where everything connects to be the ultimate answer, right? That's usually what people see as the ultimate answer, the point where everything connects, right?
Yeah.
But like in this case, we just found out that the point where everything connects is actually a question, right?
Yeah.
What is the difference between these things, right? And that's what I'm getting at. That the point where everything intersects, ultimately, it will be a question, not an answer. And because science needs answers, it always leads to a question that cannot be answered. Religion leads to it, but it doesn't want to answer it or prove it to you. It wants to come up with an answer that is meaningful to the system. As we just talked about, there's meaning behind everything. Both science and religion agree, right? Science studies meaning in its most formal way. This means something, and this means something, which means this, which means that, until it leads to a source. Religion looks for meaning as well. So when you get to that question, science is like, okay, we can't really answer that ultimate question, right? At least not yet. But then it always comes back to a question. Religion comes to a question and comes up with an answer. But in the end, that answer is a meaningful one, right? Something that gives meaning to every part of the chain that comes after it. So even if you can't prove it, in my opinion, it's the thing that approximates you more to that answer, because at the very least, it gives the chain meaning, right? You got to a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Damn, man. Because for me, Jay, it's like, from what I understand, from what you're saying, and just from my experience and my thoughts, is you're essentially saying they're two of the same coin. There's just two different sides, right? Or not necessarily.
No, it's actually, it's almost like they're the exact same side of the exact same coin, just held by a different person right?
Yeah.
I want to buy Coke with that coin. You want to buy, like, I want to buy Sprite. You want to buy 7-Up, right? With that coin. Or maybe we're in different countries. I can't even buy anything with that coin, right? Because it's
You gotta
the same
take
coin.
it to exchange first.
Yeah, exchange, yeah. So it's the
So what I have to
value.
do there, that exchange, I have to map it to something else,
Yeah.
right? So now it's a
Yeah.
different coin, technically with the same value, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the map that I created, but it's not the same coin, and I will never be able to use the same coin because I always have to create a map for it,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of the whole thing about God and understanding God, right? So
Mm.
you always get to that point where it's like, you know, it's like, and in fact, okay, again, another diatribe. Please tell me shut the fuck up. Do you guys know Lupe Fiasco?
Who?
Who?
That was a unison. He's a rapper.
Oh, yeah.
And always been my favorite rapper. And the reason he's my favorite rapper is because he doesn't focus on the. I mean, I love hip hop. Grew up on it, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't focus exactly on the sport of hip hop, you know, like the actual rhyming schemes and the. But he's an artist first and foremost.
Yeah.
He is a. In fact, he recently became a guest professor at MIT for literature. So he focuses more on that, right?
Hmm.
And that allows a lot of his music really makes you think about a lot of things, right? And when you, like, he has one song, right, that if you listen to it, you just think it's a cool song that sounds good about, like, I don't know, like poverty or like drug addiction, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually a song about a drug addict that gets lost in like Los Angeles, dies, is abducted by aliens, and turned into a supercomputer, right?
Oh, damn. Shit.
You really have to think about some shit. He has this one amazing song, right? Which actually I think I'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Won't get into the song. I want you guys to listen to it at some point. But it has to do with art. It's called Miss Mural, right? It's part of the Mural series. He made Mural, then Mural Junior, then Miss Mural. It's an entire song that almost is a deep dive into the meaning of art through the eyes of a painter, right? It's a story. It's a painter and a patron, and the patron asks the painter about his painting, and he goes on a whole diatribe about art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very interesting song. Very interesting. But one thing, he has one song specifically, right?
Yeah.
Called "The Instrumental," right? And the song essentially the first and second verse, are two stories, right? The first one's a story about this person who It talks about a box. A box is like the center of attention of the story, right?
Yeah.
Apparently. And the first one is about this person who finds a box and looks at the box. It pays attention to the box, but it hates this box, right? And he sees images in the box, right? He sees things in the box, right? And he hates it. He hates this box, right?
Yeah.
But he becomes obsessed with the box. And the reason he becomes obsessed with the box is because he feels like, okay, first of all, the second person also sees the box and he hears things from the box, right?
Yeah.
And he adores the box, right? The other person hates it, but they both become obsessed with it. They both reach the same point, right? And the reason for that is the first person becomes obsessed with the box because it wants to get rid of the box, but it doesn't know how to. So it looks at the box for answers on how to stop using the box, because the box is the only source of information that it has, because it keeps throwing things at his brain, right? So what he eventually does in the song is he locks himself with the box, like he puts a lock on the box and on himself, and then he swallows the key, right?
Yeah.
But he chains himself to the box, but simply because he's obsessed with it, because it's like a self-feeding loop. It's like a slave, right?
Yeah.
A slave that becomes obsessed with the idea of being free becomes a slave to the idea of being free, right?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though it's the idea of
They
becoming
are chaining themselves trying to be free.
exactly. So you're basically fucking yourself, right? You're like, okay, I want to be free, but I just made myself even less free, right? Which is also kind of the whole Hegel thing about the slave and the master, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
You look at like that, right? And then you look at the second guy, which is this guy loves the box, right? It hears the box, it loves what the box is telling him, and he becomes obsessed with the box because it loves the box and it loves all the information that's putting in his brain, right?
Yeah.
He chains himself to the box as well because it wants to be with the box, right? The reason it's called the instrumental, right, the song, is because the song, it also has a part where it says that the doctors checked up on this person, right, on both people, because they both swallowed the lock.
Yeah.
Right? And the doctors almost the box and the doctors at the same time, but it's mostly implied that the box took away the person's voice, right?
Oh.
It made them mute.
Yeah.
And-
So who is this artist again?
Lupe Fiasco.
Lupe Fiasco.
After we're done with the podcast, if you guys want, I can like show you some cool songs by him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He has some really interesting songs, but and so it says that it took away his voice and just left his instrumental. That's why it's called the instrumental, right?
Oh.
Now
Interesting.
you think about that, and the entire song is dealing with perspective, right? One person, but also not only the perspective people have on things, but also how your perspective can change. The boxes were changing the people's perception, right?
Yeah.
It was making them think things, right?
Yeah.
It was changing the way they looked at things. But at the same time, the people had different perspectives on the box in general. One person hated it, but found it necessary. The other person loved it and found it necessary.
Yeah.
Then it said that the doctors looked at the patient,
Yeah.
took away his voice, and so did the box. The box also took away his voice. And what happened? It left his instrumental, right? Why did it take away his voice? That's when you start thinking. You guys are, familiar like with quantum mechanics and all that, right? And like that very basic principle of like, oh, the particle acts different if you look at it or if you don't, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So essentially what the song is saying is dealing with that one concept. By simply looking at the box, they
Yeah.
had a perception on the box, and their perception was changed by the box, right? The doctors, simply by looking at this person, changed the person because they changed their perception of the person, right? So what are they doing? They are taking away the vocals from a thing. Okay, so what it means, the point that the song is getting at, right, is when I think about the world, when I see the world, I'm taking away the vocals from the world and leaving just the instrumental. Why? Because I'm replacing it with my own vocals. Because any lyrics that the world had, that the universe had, that God had, that you had, that this keyboard that's in front of me had, right?
Yeah.
These lyrics will be different to you and me because once we look at it, we take away the lyrics, leave only the instrumental, only the form, right? And then we look at it, we replace it with something else, right?
Yeah, because currently we're just getting your understanding of the song, are we not?
Exactly. Now, if you look at the song, you feel different about it, then yes, you're replacing the lyrics of the song with your own, right? But it's not even just the song. If you look at wherever you played, YouTube, your computer, right? The lyrics of that computer, you're taking them away just by looking at it, and you are instantly replacing them with your own. Now it's a computer to you, right? Not a computer, right? Because in the end, that's how we approach things. Because like we said, everything eventually leads to an unanswerable question, even something as simple as looking at a monitor, right? So the only thing that you can do is replace that with something that you believe in. Even if you're not religious, what you're doing is replacing that unanswerable question with something that you believe in, even for small things, right? Like a computer, like what you think a computer is. You're replacing an unanswerable question with something you believe. And now you understand the computer. Now you understand it, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where those two things converge, in my opinion. I'm sweating.
God damn.
Damn, bro.
Some rhetoric.
Oh, fucking hell. I'm glad I'm not sweating.
We're
It's too
freezing.
fucking cold for that.
We're freezing.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. Every time I talk, I can see my breath.
Yeah.
Holy shit. It's winter out here too, but we don't got seasons, so it's just rainy and cold sometimes.
Yeah, we just got rainy and cold for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. Nah, I'm cozy in my room. Also, because my room has no windows, because I don't know if I ever told you the story, Neil, but one day I was taking a shower and someone threw a brick through my window.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, they just, like, I was just taking a shower and my mom started, like, shouting, like, someone shot our window, and I was like, what the fuck? And I checked my room and there was a massive brick and there was a massive hole in my window. I was like, what the fuck? And then we got it fixed, but the person who fixed it never
dodgy.
actually did. He was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna come back tomorrow. Never came back tomorrow.
Dodgy.
So I can't open my window, and it's held together by tape. It's been like that for like a year. And I
Oh my
always keep my
God.
door closed, and I always have a running computer in here, so this place is hot as fuck as well.
Damn.
Oh, no. Wait, so what happened to the fucking guy? Is he alright? Did he, like, something bad happen to him? Or is he just, like,
The
a
guy who
lazy
was fixing
cunt?
the window?
Yeah.
I think he was just lazy. I think he was
the
just lazy.
bastard.
Yeah. And so my windows now, like, fucking... And they were cleaning my windows, too, like, a few months ago, and they kept, like, kicking my window, and I was like, it's gonna fucking explode, Jesus Christ.
Fuck.
The thing is held together by tape, I'm not kidding. But I can't open it, so it's like, my room is always hot as fuck. And also, I have a bunch of clothes and a bunch of stuff in my room, like books and everything, so insulation is terrible. Bro, I'm moving crazy in this room. Fucking melting.
I'd rather be fucking cold than be fucking hot.
Oh, I'm fucking hot regardless. You know what I mean?
Kinky.
No, I'm fucking ugly as shit, bro. Let's see. Oh, okay, so. Do you guys believe in magic?
Magic.
Yes,
Fuck.
but not exactly the way that people are made, like you see on movies. Like it's something like, think of it this way, like you know Bruce Lee's famous quote where it says like, be like water, be formless, blah blah blah. I think that is essentially like an alchemical formula. Basically, you absorb something that's good and you expel what's bad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Kinda like
fucking
salt
Chinese
Yeah,
Chinese
Chinese
fantasy
philosophy.
novels.
Oh yeah.
Gotta get rid of those impurities, bro. Harden up your body. So
Hell
you can be
yeah.
Oh,
fucking
Feng Shui masters.
No, bro, on God, they are onto some shit. They are moving weird, but they are moving right. I'm telling you.
The
Chinese
geomancers.
people got some answers.
God damn, bro. They're like fighting gods and becoming gods themselves. Like, Jesus.
Bro, I hate you, Neil. I
Why?
hate you.
Why?
I just read the next point in this thing. How do people change? Why do people change, bro? You're gonna make me go into another diatribe. I'm not.
Sheesh.
I'm gonna tell you.
No, bro. Fuck. Take it easy, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy. It's already been an hour.
Fuck, man.
Look.
We'll skip to some points. We'll go Law of Triviality.
Hold on, let me say something.
Okay, go say something quickly, quick.
Quickly.
Okay,
Speak it
so
out.
Go. Come on, you got the spotlight.
Okay, wait. So
All right, I believe in magic.
no, keep talking about magic, and keep talking about magic for a little bit. Let's keep talking about magic. So, what do you guys think of what's his name, David Blaine? What do you guys think of David Blaine?
He's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all right. I do believe in the magic of just impressions, like just wowing people.
Mhm.
But that's the kind of magic I believe in. I don't believe it's some sort of like actual power that holds sway over the physical world or immaterial world. I just believe it's just the magic of impression, just
Impression.
something that stands out, that just leaves something behind that is forever ingrained in your mind. That's what I believe to be a magic phenomenon.
Okay. To me, I mean, I already explained what magic was. I think in that, I think magic
Yeah.
is anything that is,
Yeah, on the map.
on a map, cartography and on a map and shit, and God and
It's a. Wait, to connect this to the map and the approximation, it's like the four elements, right? Like earth, wind, air, fire, and you can in a way you can compare it to the four states of matter, but then again you can also go on in a tangent with science or magic, or the not real magic, but like the extended elements of magic, but also the extended states of matter, because there's more than 3 or 4 states of matter.
yeah.
Because
Yeah, there's-
in a way it's like think of it this way, like to bring it back to the religion and science, right? Think of like there's no. There's a scientific method. Yeah, it's logical, it's procedural, hierarchical, and then it's the same thing with rituals. There's a ceremony that you gotta prepare the materials, the apparatus, and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it goes in some sense, in a maybe cross or maybe negative light. You can say that in some sense sometimes it can be negative that science can be viewed as a religion, like as in scientism, like this is superior, blah blah blah, etc.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
like fanaticism, basically.
Yeah, in a way, I do think science is highly religious in nature because it does require belief.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, especially by people who don't necessarily do the science, but just take in the science, right? Like,
Yeah.
fucking Stephen Hawking could have been lying to us this whole fucking time. We just believe it,
Sure, yo, he could
He probably teleported by now.
That's true. He could have been lying to himself, and he just believed what he thought that he was right in. Right?
Yeah.
It takes religion to do science, but it also takes science to do religion. That's kind of the point of the guy in the book, really. It takes science to do religion. It takes religion to do science. Even if you don't consider yourself religious, you're doing religion, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Mm.
And even if you don't consider yourself someone who believes in science, you're doing science if you're religious in a way.
Yeah.
Right? It's an interesting phenomenon. But
yeah.
An interesting thing about maps is just like a little tangent, right? That I always that I thought about is like, and I thought about this. Okay, so when I was in school and when I was in high school, I used to like sit down like during my breaks and everything. I wouldn't hang out with anyone. I would play volleyball from time to time, sometimes soccer, sometimes basketball, right?
Yeah.
But I would sit down and I would just look at a tree, at this one specific tree, and I would think about God's creation, right? But one day I decided, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to turn around. And I said to myself, I specifically said, I don't want to look at God's creation right now. And I looked at the city skyline, right? And I was like, I want to look at man's creation right now, right? And I thought about it hard, and I came to my own conclusions, right?
Yeah.
Which was, and again, that's an interesting thing about God as well, and my belief in God, which is, I think that what's in a way one of the things that my beliefs are based on is that what separates us from animals truly in a religious way is not even intelligence. To me, that separates us from animals in a scientific way, almost, right?
Yeah.
In a physical way. In a metaphysical way, I feel like the thing that separates us from animals, in my opinion, this is just me, I'm not trying to convince anyone of this,
Yeah,
my
no
knowledge,
worries. Yeah.
is that we are meant to tamper with God's creation. Animals are just part of it, right? Like, we were given the gift of being here to tamper with things. right? You know
Yeah.
how old like Mayans and like Aztecs and stuff, they used to like build on mountains, but they wouldn't like landscape the mountain. They would just kind of like build around it, so it
Yeah.
would be like
Yeah.
all weird and wacky. It's
Yeah.
because they felt like they weren't beyond nature; they were part of it. So they felt like they didn't have any right to tamper with nature, right?
Yeah.
Because they were just part of it as well. I believe that part of being human is having the right to tamper with it. And in a way, if you think about it, the only way we can tamper with it is by creating a map of it, a map of the. And another thing about God, you know, the Bible says that. Okay, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Bible
Yeah, go.
says that the man is created in the image of God, right?
Yeah.
I also don't think that, because again, that's an approximation created from map system A to understand system C. At the end of the day, that's what the Bible is. Although the Bible, in some parts, theoretically, it tries to be the closest approximation to system C because it's supposed to be system C directly explaining itself to system A, right?
Yeah.
But in some parts, right?
some parts, yeah.
Like the entire New Testament is the entire point of system A understanding system B. Jesus, by definition, really is the map of system C, right? To system A. That's what he is. He is
Yeah.
God-given human form, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I believe that humans were not created in the image of God. I believe that everything is the image of God. Everything in space, every phenomena, every physical phenomenon, everything that you can see or things that you can't, every star, every speck of space, every inch of the galaxy, every thunderstorm, everything is the image of God, right? Everything
Yeah.
is the map of God, right? And upon that map of God, when we tamper with his creation, we can only map it further. We can't create a new thing on top of it. We can create on God's creation. That's what I believe. That's our limitation as humans, is that we cannot create, but we can tamper. That's where I think the difference is. We cannot create something new and put it on top of God's
God's
creation.
plan.
Not only because that's impossible, but in my opinion, that would also be blasphemy in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because it would be doing something that only God can do, which is
Yeah.
creation. To me, that's the thing that really separates God from us, is that he can create. We can only temper. We can change, right? When we create a city, right?
Yeah.
Like you think, okay, we're creating new stuff, right?
Yeah.
No, we're just using old stuff to make new stuff.
But it's not even that. It's, yes, the materials are made from
Old.
the from nature, right?
Yeah.
But it's not even that. It's if you really look at a city, and this is why I thought it when I look at the cityscape,
Yeah.
everything is built as an image of the world. Buildings are just trees
So like jungles.
made into different things. They're the same concept of a tree, a tall thing that is sturdy, right?
Mhm.
Like
And
to me,
provides shelter.
exactly. To me, you just look at a tree and you make a map of it, and you map it so many times that it becomes its own thing, a building. But just because you mapped it so many times that it became its own thing and you cannot see any correlation, and I'm not saying that buildings are exactly a map of trees, I'm just an example. It could be a map of mountains, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
I think that
caves.
because we can't create anything new, exactly, a house could be a map of a cave, right? A thing that is within a thing where you can have shelter, right? Something like that. And you map different things, you map ideas, because even the thing of looking at a cave and being, you can have you can take shelter here, is a map of that cave in itself. You create so many maps that you create your own thing, but you're not creating it. You're
Yeah.
simply mapping something so many times that it becomes a map that is sufficiently different that you can give it a different meaning, which is why, for example, in the story in the Exactitude of Science, the map was
It's no
useless.
longer. Yeah, it's no longer an exact 1-to-1 ratio.
Exactly, because the point of a map is for it to be different. It serves a different purpose. It's for it to be small, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can define it different. The map is mapped from the city. The map of a city is mapped from the city. So you can define it as something different. If you just build a city on top of the city and call it a map of the city, how can you define it as a map of the city and not just the city? Because
Yeah.
you didn't map it. You just copied it,
Yeah.
right?
Copy
When you
paste.
map it and
Yeah.
you map it so many times, you copy. So in a way, society itself, to me, is by necessity a map of nature, and nothing new could be created. Every idea, too, in my opinion, is a mapping of one core. And this is a belief that I have. There is one core thing, and from that core thing, different things are mapped, and that's what creates thoughts and ideas.
Mm-hmm.
One concept, one
Yeah.
fundamental concept.
The source.
What that concept is, I couldn't tell you right now.
Yeah.
But the
Inconsistent.
closest approximation that I can come to in my brain is God. God is that fundamental concept. And from that concept, a lot of things are mapped. The thing is, to me, it's God. To you, it might be something different, but I think they fulfill the same purpose, right?
Yeah.
And then you map it so many times that you have thoughts, you have ideas. So in a way, in my opinion, everything we do, think, feel, are is a map of the source, right? And the source is always going to be a question, and there will never be an answer to the source, right? Which is why we come up with things for the source. But that's the whole thing about that. It's interesting to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, that's not me. I may like, I'm still very religious. I know I sound like I'm fucking putting. I do believe in God. I think of the God in like the regular way as well, right? And the
Yeah.
whole like, he's
Yeah.
good. I do think he's good, and that there are things that guidance, lessons to be
Yeah.
learned. And I mean, I think anyone with a brain can tell that there are lessons to be learned in anything, any
Yeah.
religion, any science report, anything.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from Shinto, and I don't believe in that, right?
Yeah.
There, you can learn from everything, but I do believe in God in the regular way. I believe He's there, blah blah. But when I look deeper into it, that's when I come to the other conclusions, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, I could go on a diatribe, but I'm not going to. I'm simply going to pose you guys with this question. Speaking of the thing about changing a man, right?
Yeah.
Changing a person. Why, how, when can you change a person? Changing a person, I think it's better if we approach it in what can change, what, how, who can change the nature of a man, right? And what is the change of nature in a man? And have you guys ever played this fun little game called Planescape Torment?
No, I haven't.
Yes.
Okay.
No. I played Tides of Numenera, not the
Tides of
original,
Numenera.
sadly.
Okay. But I don't remember Tides. I don't think Tides of Numenera hits you with the same question because it's a spiritual successor at the end of the day. But Planescape Torment, right?
Yeah.
At a
I've
point
tried to
when-
play it so many times.
And
It
you
just
should.
wouldn't work.
You
just
should
wouldn't work. I
'Cause-
want to.
especially because of what I'm about to say. The game is very cerebral, and I love it. It's at a certain point. So I'm not gonna say anything about the person who is doing this or saying this. Let's say it's a very. I'm gonna tell you the name, okay?
Okay.
Just so you get an
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
of what this person could be. This person, quote unquote. Their
Yeah.
name is Echo, right? Echo.
Mhm.
Or not.
Oh.
Their name isn't Echo, really. This person at this point is this person. This quotation is attributed to Echo. Let's put it like that, okay?
Oh.
But it's not the person Echo, okay? All right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense? All right. So the point is that at some point in the game, you are posed with the question of exactly the question: what changes the nature of a man? What can change the nature of a man, right? And you can answer a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, like for example, the conclusion I would come to, and the conclusion that I think like it's most because the game gives you like 20 options to fucking answer this question, right? It
It
tells
gives you
like,
so many fucking
Yeah.
options.
No,
It's great.
yeah, this like to this question you can answer. I think like you can say like okay, so you can say like I don't know. You can say like I don't know, like death, success, love, stuff like that, right? But there are two specific answers that intrigue me the most because they're the most concluding answers to what the game is trying to tell you at this point, right? And it's nothing can change the nature of a man, and I cannot answer that question, right? When you acknowledge that you cannot answer that question, that's when you go into the whole conversation we just had, right? But let's try to answer the question. And if you think about it, nothing can change the nature of a man. The game kind of leads you in that way, right? Nothing can change the nature of a man. But eventually, it poses you a different answer, almost, right? A different solution to that question. And it's anything can change the nature of a man, right?
Oh.
Anything. Absolutely anything could change it. And I don't know, I'm just interested. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think can change the nature of a man?
Honestly,
Mhm.
just life itself. It
Yeah.
slowly over time does things to you, but the greatest thing that sets in stone a nature of a person is it's the question of nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sets a little fucking archetype, a little scaffold to hold you up
Yeah.
and build yourself around it,
Mhm.
sort of deal. Things throughout life can, change that scaffolding a little bit, or just create. You can't really completely change. I'll be honest. I've tried. You can make small adjustments, and eventually it gets to a point where you can be different. You can change for good, but the bad side that you got changed will still always be there, a part of you.
Yeah.
And it can surface anytime, no matter what.
But then,
And
in that way, wouldn't that bad thing be your nature?
exactly. You can try to change it, but it's still a part of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can change a man, but you can't change its nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Neil, about that? Because that's a very interesting take. That you can change a person. Anything can change a person, but nothing truly can change that nature. What do you think?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say something similar. Like, you can change their. I'm trying to be careful with my words here because I might say something like you can change their nature, but you can't change the person. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
I
the
mean,
essence of the person.
Yeah. Because, I believe you guys briefly talked about me on a previous podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
That story really changed how I was as a person.
Mhm.
And I'd say it changed me for better. But occasionally you can just go back to before that time, and it's just not pleasant, you know?
Yeah. So you feel like so yeah, the point that you're trying to make is like kind of like, you can even
It's a conscious, hard effort that you'd have to constantly be trying to fight your nature in a way.
so you think that you can only mask it, really.
Yeah,
Like, put it in the back burner, but it will always be there.
yeah,
Yeah. In a way, I think that's interesting because I agree, right? In a way, because like
yeah,
nature's, but in a way, I don't know how to agree, but I don't know how to disagree. 'Cause to me, there's a thing as well about like, how do you really know the nature of that person, right? How do you know the nature? But then,
You
do you
don't know.
really need? Do you really
the
need to
only-
know the nature
yeah.
to? Do you really need to know the nature to know that you can't change it, right? Or if you understand the nature as something unchangeable, does that just make it unchangeable, right?
Mm.
And in that sense, I kind of agree with you, that it could be. I personally disagree with the idea, though. I
Yeah.
do think anything can change the nature of a person.
Yeah,
Um,
and honestly, I could probably be very wrong because we're still young. Like,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get- we're below the age of 25. For all I
Yeah,
know,
Yeah.
given us enough years, shit will change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
100%.
And who knows? The world's our oyster. Fuck. We could just be completely different people in the future. I could be turned into a total scumbag, and I'd hate myself. But who knows? I hope not.
Exactly. Maybe you won't even turn. Maybe you'll discover your nature, right? Maybe we
Yeah.
haven't even found our nature. Maybe
Yeah.
we never will. Maybe we never can, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
something that will die and we will never be able to know. No one can. Maybe we can only approximate ourselves to a nature, but it's very interesting to think about that, especially with like an example like yours, which is
Yeah.
like, like something like,
Yeah, as shitty of a situation.
yeah, but like I've changed.
I'd like
What
to add to
about
this, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can judge you can't really like you can try to put a person in like a specific time frame, but you can't really judge them in a whole. Because if you try to, because they could be completely different from where they are now, from where they were before. Like different identity, different personality.
Different
Exactly.
understanding. I
Yeah.
also believe.
Yeah,
There's
it's very nuanced.
there's artistry in people, in my opinion. There's a
It's
sense of,
continual changing, you know.
it's not only that, it's like there's some artistry, there's purpose behind a person in a way that isn't like, oh, we all have an ultimate goal in
Yeah,
life, right? But
purpose.
there's
Yeah.
the artistry of which makes everyone in their own way not a work of art. I don't think everyone's a work of art, but I think everyone is capable of doing art because of the inherent artistry that comes with being human. The artistry, not the art, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that, to me, the artistry, that's the nature of a person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To me, and to me, actually, like if I think about it, and I've thought about it, nature, the nature of someone is not tied to morality, right? It's not tied to how good or bad they are. It's tied to the artistry of that person, right? The things that apply, create, and take away aesthetics, right? The aesthetics of a person is the artistry of that person, and the aesthetics of that person is the nature of that person, but it's not necessarily tied to morality, in my opinion, right? Which is why I feel like it can change if your aesthetics change, right? And by aesthetics, I don't just mean like the way you dress and everything. That's not even close to what I mean, that's the aesthetics of a person,
Would
technically,
you
right?
say art style? The art style.
Not necessarily. It's like the aesthetics of someone is the everything that allows that person to think, because we all think artistically.
The
in my opinion.
philosophies.
There's
No.
artistry in in a way, that's, in my opinion, what keeps us alive, because if you think about it, being able to think so much is a burden, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that keeps people, like the kind of like organizing factor that keeps everything together,
Yeah.
is there's artistry in our aesthetics, there's aesthetics in everyone, and there's medicine in aesthetics, right? The aesthetics is what allows you to make sense of things, right?
Yeah.
To become someone, the person you are, you become someone through your aesthetics, right? Through your beliefs. Your beliefs are part of your aesthetics, the way you think, the nuanced things that you can't even tell, right?
Yep.
Which is why I also think, in a way,
Yeah.
part of our aesthetics are so buried deep inside our brain, right?
Yeah.
That it's at the same time, anything could change your nature, because anything can change your aesthetics, but nothing can change your artistry.
Oh yeah.
And your artistry is the part inside of your brain that you don't even
No.
hold control over. The things that make you be you and not the other person, right?
Yeah.
That's your artistry. Your aesthetics are simply what communicates that artistry, in my opinion. And while you can't change the aesthetics, so in a way you're changing the output of the nature of a person, the nature of that person is tied to their artistry, which is something that even they don't have access to. So I don't think anything else could have access to it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's a very tricky subject.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Definitely is.
Very
It's,
true.
it's interesting to think about.
God, I am sweating so
Damn.
much, bro. God damn.
Do you have a fan or something?
No, bro. I have my
Oh.
computer fan, which doesn't work.
No, no.
I've ran through 5 bottles of water just today.
Damn.
Jesus. I've barely finished my second glass of water.
Bro. You gotta better drink it fast. It's gonna turn to a glass of ice, bro.
It is. It's like, fuck, what's the temperature right now? Fuck.
It's 3. Nah,
Last I checked, it was like, at midday, when it's usually the hottest, it was 7 degrees.
Yeah.
Wait, what is
degrees
that
Celsius.
in wait, Celsius. Let me see, what is it now in Celsius? Oh, we're at 12 right now.
Ooh.
But I am melting. Because I told you, bro, my room is a furnace. My room is awful. Like, I'm sure if I went out, I'd be pretty cold, right?
Yeah.
My room
Yeah.
is terrible, brother. Like, when it gets hot, catch me outside, bro. Catch me leaving.
Outside.
No, the sun is moving mad, bro. Hell no. Oh, bro. And also, all this thinking and talking and everything.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that will definitely do it. It'll
Yeah, man.
also like fucking dry out your throat.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Stay hydrated, my bro.
Yeah.
What else do we have to talk about?
Fuck. We got
You-
Magick. We did identity. Ontology.
I think I kind of
We've covered that. We've covered that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you
Oh
guys-
god. Yeah, I
Should
guess
we
I
wrap
guess
it
it
up?
does count.
Wait, laws of trivia. Oh, we have it. This is more political.
Yeah, we haven't done culture.
Cultural stuff. Yeah, cultural stuff.
That's something we haven't
Why
done.
do you guys think that people focus on so many trivial things?
Well, personally, I believe people focus on trivial details because thinking about the larger picture is too much for
Too much
normal
effort.
people. We just
Too much
can't.
effort.
If you constantly focus on the big picture, you sort of put too much stress on yourself. You start breaking down, but you focus on the triviality and you blow that out of proportion because you need something small to like add. Most people do the same fucking thing every single day, going to work, it's the same routine. And those little things where you just blow up sort of deal. You just
Yeah.
take it out, all that stress of being in the same bloody routine.
Yeah.
And you just need to vent it. But the only problem with that is you're taking it out on people and you're perpetuating the cycle. Now that person you took it out on is also going to eventually snap at one point and
Yeah.
take it out on someone else. And
Yeah.
it's just it's
Cycle
a horrible
repeated.
cycle.
Cycle
It's a horrible cycle.
Linkin Park.
It's just a never-ending cycle.
Bro, I've listened to like 2 songs by them. Terrible. Bro. I'm
God
fucking
awful.
terrible. I listened to Fort Minor a little bit, you know, little what's his name? Mike Shinoda's side project.
I've been listening to Moby recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does a lot of good things about like culture. Like
I'm sorry.
did it's all right. He did a song about "Are you lost in the world like me?" It's
Oh, I think I've heard about that one. Wait,
yeah,
have I? I've heard that.
Yeah.
I think.
it's good. It sort of puts to the forefront that everyone's sort of stuck on their phones, yada yada, all that.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's entirely true. Sure, people are on their phones all the time, but you know, sometimes when you're having a conversation with your friends, and eventually the conversation sort of dies out, and you
Yeah.
can have that little companionable silence
Yeah.
where it's nice to just sit in the quiet with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And,
mean,
you
to
know-
be fair, when you become really good friends with someone, you can just chill, not say anything, and still have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hell, you can go on your phone and you can flip through shit, and eventually you'll see something and you're like, you'll bring that up. You want to talk to them about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just want to. It's something to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
You still want to
Yeah.
be with each other, but you just don't have much to talk about. And sometimes you find a little thing like, "Hey, look at this little funny video," and you start laughing about it, and you talk for a bit more.
So, yeah, it's the little things.
Yeah. It's just the little things that make life nice, you know? You don't always have to talk about big issues. It was small issues, sure. But just silence is also very lovely.
Yeah, relaxing, peaceful.
But I feel like that's kind of like the antithesis of the question in a way, because people focus so much on the small stuff that they
Yeah.
don't see the value in having a moment of silence, a moment of not focusing on
Exactly.
small things, you know, a moment of letting things happen. You know what I mean? Which is why the U.S. explodes every 5 minutes, because people don't know how to appreciate silence or to shut the fuck up in the U.S. You know, they just need to be talking about something at all times. And I know I'm saying that as the guy who talks for 4 hours about.
That's alright, man. That's alright.
Don't worry, it was only an hour. Don't worry, come on. It's all good.
But, you know, like, you know, people don't know how to shut the fuck up sometimes. And also, I think it's kind of like what Styks was saying at the beginning, which is like, you know, most people focus on trivial issues. I think is because it's the only thing that we can approach. Really, we don't really understand, or we don't have access to the bigger picture sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if
and
you
also-
don't go metaphysical, even if you just go political, like, I don't know what Biden is doing. I don't know what fucking.
God,
I
we
know.
don't know either. He's not even our president.
Exactly. No one knows what the fuck he's doing. No one knows what they're thinking. No one knows what the big plan is. No one knows if there's a big plan. So we can only really talk about the small shit because it's the only thing we can approach. So it's like,
Yeah,
we just
and
talk
also
about that
it's
a lot.
more relatable.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
talk about the small shit to each other because let's be honest, not all of us have access to the big picture to just influence it in a way.
Yeah.
If I somehow got access to like Biden's big plan, I was like, guys, what do you think about the overcompensation of the economical background of the you guys? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
What the fuck
no,
are
no
you-
thanks. That's too boring for my feeble little mind.
Exactly. We can only talk about, hey, Biden did some fucked up shit, some racist shit yesterday. What do you guys think about? Because we can approach that. We understand that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's easy. It's easy because we have access to that information.
And we can understand him as a person and be like,
Exactly.
yeah, no, he's a piece of shit, or he's a little fucking weirdo around kids. Ugh.
And has fucking dementia. But hey,
It's-
A president with dementia? I didn't even know that.
the bro, dude is crazy. Dude
Isn't it like pumped with drugs or some shit?
Bro, at one point, like he was reading like the teleprompter in like a speech, and you know this teleprompter has like some cues, right? Like
Yeah.
read next line twice or something. He read those fucking cues, bro. He was like, and us, the government of the United States, want to say thank you. Read next line again. Just blah, blah, blah. Don't read next line, and then he proceeds to read next line. Bro, he's stupid. And then he forgets shit every 5 seconds. It's like,
Actually, that does make sense about him having dementia, because our old prime minister was on a talk with him, and he completely forgot our prime minister's name.
it was like, so you're the prime minister of what state of the U.S.? California. It's like,
No, it was the prime minister of Australia at the
Yeah.
time. He was a total scumbag. I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah.
Fucking laziest cunt ever. Oh
shit.
god! Oh, no, I'm doing it. Oh no, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
One country to be in.
Hopefully our new prime minister can do good.
Is Australia like livable for someone like me, who just wants to have a nice time and hates spiders?
Sure. I mean, I literally had a huntsman just above my brother's door, but I just sort of left it there because fuck, he's getting rid of the cockroaches, and I saw one the other day, so I'm like, yeah, he can get rid of them.
For that, bro. I've heard 2 Australian people already say, no, I'm okay with the huntsmen because they hunt the cockroaches. Like, bro, that's like picking the devil because he can get rid of the demon. You know? What I mean?
No. Look, huntsmen, they like to stay up high and in corners, so they stay out of the way. But if they like my height, like right in front of me on the wall, then I'll fucking kill them.
I don't give a fuck, bro. If there's a bro, I see a tiny little spider. The biggest spider I get is like the size of like a penny, right? Biggest spider I've seen is like the size of a bottle cap, probably, right? And it's like, and that shit freaks me the fuck out. I cannot, bro. I'm like, nah, And I get these, you guys, silverfish. You guys know what silverfish are?
Yeah. You mine a block in Minecraft and they pop out. It's the worst.
Yeah, bro, in real life, they're fucking terrifying. Bro, this motherfucker
Yeah.
move fast as fuck. I can stomp them like 20 times and they don't fucking die. They're everywhere in my fucking house. I hate them. I want to die. Every time I go to the bathroom, they're in every fucking corner. Nah, bro. I'm not. I have to get rid of a bunch of shit in my closet in a few days. And everything,
no.
bro, I'm terrified. Because my closet is full to the brim and...
Don't worry, I'm not gonna give like hell. There was one time I was just chilling on my couch and then I felt something in my hair. I'm like, I slapped it out and I looked at it. It was just a fucking redback.
Nah, you're moving nuts. You're moving nuts, bro. No,
There's also that one time, like when I was younger, I put on my pants and then I felt a pain in my leg, and I lifted up my pant legs. I saw a little thin thread of like silk. I go up further and I see a little spider with fangs in my thigh, and I just slap it out.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You know what I have to do every time I get out of the shower?
What?
I grab my towel, I spread it out in front of me, I look at it at every corner, I turn it around, I look at it just to make sure there's nothing on it, then I use it. I have to make sure that every step I take, there's nothing there. Every time I go to the bathroom, I have to look at every... Then I also have OCD, by the way. I
Yeah,
look
no,
at every corner to fucking make sure there's fucking things. I look at fucking my... any piece of clothing that is in my closet I am never using again, and I have never moved from my closet. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that I used to love that I'm never touching again because someone put it in my fucking closet. I have a little drawer cabinet full of clothes next to me. That's the only place I take clothes out of. Fuck my closet. I have a massive library in front of me. I don't take a single book out because one day I tried to take a book out, opened it, there was a fucking silverfish in there. Fuck that.
You want to know something hilarious? I told you all those stories about my interactions with spiders, right? Well, I have arachnophobia, so they terrify me. Don't get me wrong, but like, I understand the necessity of them. So, one time I was at work. Fuck, I was just minding my own business. And I look up behind me. I see a fucking huntsman up there. I'm like, all right. I sort of ignore him. I'm doing my job. I come back. He's still there. I keep ignoring him. An hour later, he's still there. I'm like, fuck it. I go through the bin. I grab a little coffee cup. I grab like a little paper towel. I just like yoink him in there. I'm walking along, and sure, it scares the shit out of me that he's in there, right? And I'll walk out to the exit, and my little lanyard touches me in a way, and I sort of freak out. Oh fuck, he's out. Oh no, I sort of freak out for a second, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm still holding it. He's in there. I'm like, okay, good.
So what were you gonna do with it? Just put it outside?
Yeah, no, I found a little tree where huntsmen
brother,
live, and then I just put him in there.
I love to make like insects suffer. Like if I'm killing a spider, I am stepping on it, squishing it, stepping on it again and again, fucking running my feet through it. I want it to die in the afterlife as well. I want to cause as much pain, torture, and spiritual trauma as I can.
Oh my gosh.
Nah, see, that's what I do with flies. I can catch them with my bare hands, and I just pull out the wings and I throw them in the bin.
I accidentally killed my pet bird when I was little.
What? No.
Yeah, it was an accident. It was a fucking motherfucker. I was little. I used to jump on the couch. He got under one of the cushions in the couch. I stepped on him. I broke his fucking neck. Wasn't my fault. Dude was moving fucking nuts getting under that. He knew what I was doing. He knew what I was about. Right?
He had it coming.
Yeah. He was trying to die.
God
my fucking
damn.
aunt got super mad at me. I was like, fuck you. My aunt got mad at me. My aunt brought a fucking scorpion in the house one day to
What the fuck?
We don't even have scorpions in here. Some dude brought it from a trip, left it out in the fucking hallway in the middle of the apartment. She just brought it in like, hey guys, look, I got a fucking scorpion. I'm like, you fucking bitch. Get the fuck out of my house.
Fucking bitch, why would you?
God damn.
I cannot deal with fucking insects. I will beat the fuck out of any insect. Like, catch me fucking slipping hands to that shit.
Neil, you remember Samuel?
I'm gonna end the podcast, yeah? If that's alright.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, if anything, we do a part 2 some other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part those. Alright.
Yeah.
Insect podcast.
Alright. See ya, everyone.
See you guars. Have fun. We'll continue this conversation
Okay,
without you.
fellas, follow me at arsmimica and twitter.com, twitch.com/ars underscore mimica, twitter.com at arsmimica, just for those who forgot already. Arsmimica on Instagram as well. Fucking Facebook, sure, follow me there as well. Why not? My Discord is arsmimica, number 7495. If you guys want to hit me up there too, my fucking address. If you guys want it, you're gonna have to ask for it. My PayPal is paypal.com/graphip at hotmail.com. If you guys want to shoot me up with some money as well, if you guys want that. My email is trylajram@gmail.com, tryljram@gmail.com. You can also visit my Redbubble page. It's called redbubble.com/something with putty. You can buy some shirts. We got some new designs coming, hopefully. You guys can also hit up my Spotify if you guys want to see what I listen to. Arsamimica on Spotify if you guys want to look that up. My SoundCloud, even though I don't use it anymore, soundcloud.com/arsamimica if you guys want to get on that wave. I also have a Wattpad page if you guys want to read some lyrics that I wrote. This wattpad.com/arsamimica as well. You guys can also find me my other Facebook account called JJ Greaves if you guys want to follow that as well. I have multiple Roblox accounts if y'all guys want to hit me up there. Something in the World is one of them. The other one's Arsmimica if you guys want to do that. My Steam account, Arsmimica, same as always. My Epic Games account is also Arsmimica. If you guys want to hit me up in the Old Republic, just fucking text me, I guess. If you guys want to play Path of Exile or anything, hit me up as well. If you guys want to talk about games, hit me up as well. Am I missing any? Snapchat, I used to have a Snapchat. I could activate it again. It's ars_mimica, actually. The little funny old man with a purple face. If you guys want to know the avatar as well, just to find me.
Yep, your little Bitmoji.
Yeah, my little Bitmoji, exactly. I no longer use Xbox, but my Xbox Live account, I'm sure should. Oh, actually, it's Egghead Goomba. My Rockstar account is Egghead Goomba. If you guys want to play some as well. But yeah, just follow me on all my socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Am I missing anything? YouTube. My YouTube account got suspended because I posted porn, so you guys don't follow that. But yeah, I might be launching a new YouTube account, so Ars Mimica on YouTube if you guys want to follow that as well. Twitch.com/Ars Mimica as well. And yeah.
Any GOG or Ubisoft or like Origin?
My Origin account, I don't use it anymore, unfortunately, because I did buy Battlefield 3 there with my own money. It was the first game I bought with my own money, and I was really proud of it, and I lost it. But if I do find it again, I'm pretty sure it's Egghead Goomba as well, or Egghead Gaming. Look up both of those. And then my GOG account, I'm pretty sure that should be Matt Rocky, because I use my brother's account as well. I only used it to play Baldur's Gate 3, so you guys can hook that up as well. Ubisoft account, don't have one, because I value my money. Genshin UID. I just recently started playing Genshin again because my girlfriend forced me to. So if you guys want to play Genshin with me, I don't know my UID, but hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, or anything if you guys want to find out. Anything else to push?
Yeah. If you do one of those, you have to do all of them. Otherwise, you're all fuckwits.
Or else I will hunt you down and you have 10 hours. You have 10 hours. Run.
Yeah. Run.
Sleep with both eyes open. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you very much.
Yellow bye.
Bye.